On today's episode, we are looking at the finances of a 36-year-old lady. She works as a nurse and has a 13-year-old son. She says her love of clothes has left her in debt and with a damaged credit record. And now the years have gone by and she has nothing to show for her hard work but a closet full of dresses. And now she wants to get in control of her finances so that she can have some money in the bank and get started on her son's education fund. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Itumeleng. I'm a qualified management accountant. And on this channel, I help ordinary people like you learn how to start saving money, get out of debt, invest, and ultimately build wealth. If that is something you're interested in, please do subscribe and become a part of our growing rich family. 39%. 39% of you watch my videos every single week and might even like or comment, but you're not subscribed. This is your time to shine. We are now on a road to 50,000 subscribers and I need your help. Please subscribe if you haven't already and officially welcome to our rich family. Now let us look at the finances of our sister, starting with her income. Her monthly net income is 25,000 rands as a nurse. Not bad. Now let us look at her monthly savings and investments. Savings 0, 0, 0. She has no savings or investments, nothing. She has a pension fund at work, but a lot of you guys don't know your pension fund balances. So thank God for the pension fund. Other than that, no savings, no investments. Debt balances, she has an ABSA personal loan. The balance there is 15,000 rands. African Bank personal loan, 21,500 rand. Clothing accounts, 30,000 rand. In total, her debt balance is 66,500 rand. Okay, it's not a bad balance at all, but she's panicking, she's stressed. Why? What is the reason? What was the loans for? She said, well, when I started working, I started with the clothing accounts because they said, get a clothing account and build a credit score. And then everything just, went downhill from there. I started buying dresses and these dresses are very particular. Hey, she says she likes poetry dresses. Okay. So she says I started just every single month end. That became a thing for me. The routine for month end became buying dresses from poetry. And then before I knew it, I went to ABSA, I went to African Bank, I got the personal loans so I can buy the dresses. Ma'am. So clothing accounts and ABSA and African Bank, you took the loans so you can buy the poetry dresses? She said, yes, ma'am, that's what I did. I said, okay, so are you some sort of a fashionista, fashion lover, influencer, something? What is going on? Why so many poetry dresses? She said, well, I'm someone that just, I do like nice things, nice dresses in particular. I like nice dresses. So every month end, I walk into the poetry shop and I see a beautiful, stunning dress. And I just feel like it would be a crime to not take it. And then I take it on 2 or maybe 5 a month. And then I get home, I line them up in my closet, I close the closet, and I never wear them, not even once. Okay. And then what? And then because I'm a nurse, when I go to work, I wear uniform. I wear uniform most of the time. And on my off days, when I look at the clothes I have in my wardrobe, they are not for the kind of life that I live. Those dresses are too nice, for the area I live in. And I'm not someone that likes going out. So the dresses just don't fit, the places that I frequent. So I just end up not wearing them. And now I have like hundreds of dresses in my wardrobe with tags on, never been worn because I wear uniform to work. Okay, you know how that sounds, right? I'm sure all of us, at some point you've bought a dress that, looked nice in the shop. You're like, oh, I like you. And then you get home, you wear it maybe once or twice and you forget it. They're leaving it with a tag on. I don't know. I don't have that experience. But yeah, maybe let's say one or two dresses you can leave them with a tag on, never been worn, but you liked it in the shop. But 70, 80, 90 dresses every single month, no savings. We are even taking some of this on debt because we like it so much. We cannot leave it in the shop. It's a crime to leave it in the shop. And you put it in your apartment, you put it in your wardrobe, you never wear it again, but you've spent the money. It does not sound right. It does not sound right. I said to her, you're a nurse. The hospital you work at, do they have, therapists, counselors? She said, yes. And, for us, it's free. I can go to counseling for free. I said, yeah, you should. This is something that I think, in my opinion, she needs to speak to someone about this other than me. She needs to speak to a therapist about this and find out what mental issues, underlying issues are behind this. Some of you that are therapists, what is this called? Because this is not normal. I know we talk about, being a shopaholic, like it's funny, but it's really not. It's a problem. It's an addiction. Yes, you are a shopping addict. It's a problem as much as, it would be frowned upon. It would be worrisome if you were a drug addict, if you're an alcoholic or any other form, of addiction. Even this is a problem. To buy million dresses that you have never worn and even get in debt is not normal. She said, well, I have gone to therapy, but it was never for that. It was for other things. The clothes, I just, assumed it's because, I like nice things. I like nice dresses. I don't think you do. I don't think you like nice dresses because people that like nice dresses put them on, even if it's once, even if, you wear it once, to go out, to go to an event, or even to just take pictures. I know people that will just wear a dress and take pictures and then it's fine. For them, that was value for money. But this is not normal. We need to get help. First things first, we're going to speak to a counselor and get to the root of what is really happening mentally behind all of this because it does not make sense. And while we are sorting that out, line them up. Line the dresses in your apartment, take pictures, and open an online store and let them go because you've already had your moment of achievement of buying your favorite poetry dress that you liked in the shop. Now you're going to open an online store. Lots of them still have tags, lots. So she's going to open an online store and then she's going to sell whatever she can, and just selling those dresses alone before we even get to a day-to-day expenses. The sales from the dresses can settle all these debts and even get her started on an emergency fund. Imagine. So that online store is going to be very important to reverse the mess that we made here. And she can also get to have her fashion moment. She can also get to revisit, relook at some of the dresses that she liked 5 years ago that she never wore. Now let us look at her monthly expenses and see what else she spends her money on other than poetry dresses. Rent, 1,400 rands. She says a big part of her rent is subsidized by her employer, hence it's that little. She also does not pay any water and electricity. All that is covered in her rent. That is a great incentive. Transport to work, 900 rands. Groceries, 3,500 rands. She said she's worried about the groceries. She feels like she buys a lot of things that she doesn't need and then they end up getting rotten. So she's on a challenge now to reduce that to 2,500 rands and we can get that 1,000 rand saving. So she said, but how am I going to do it? Because I'm just used to spending 3,500 rands that, it has become a norm to me. Every single month, I just go to the grocery store and I spend 3,500 rands And every single time I get back home, I'm like, but I shouldn't have. I bought things I don't need. Why do I have Pringles? I don't even like them. Okay, but Pringles are great. So how she can make sure that she sticks to a new budget of 2,500 rands for groceries is go with a physical cash. Is it called physical cash? Go to the grocery store with cash instead of using your card, because sometimes when you just tap and go, it feels like it's not real money and you're not even worried about how much you spent. But if you can go and withdraw that 2,500 rands, when you feel it, there's something that changes when you can physically hold the cash that makes you want to not overspend. And another thing about going with cash to the grocery store instead of a card is with the cash, I just have 2,500 rands. You can physically see the limit. You cannot exceed 2,500 rands because it's all you got. That is going to force you to really rethink those Pringles, to really confront yourself to say, do I really need a cucumber? I'm talking about myself. Now, medical aid, 1,800 rands. This medical aid is for her and her daughter. Again, a big chunk of that is subsidized by her employer. Nice employer, this one. Data and airtime, 700 rands. She says she had a Wi-Fi, but she could not renew her contract because her credit record got ruined because she has decided not to pay some of her debt. Some of the clothing debt that she got, some of the debt that she has stopped paying, and that has affected her credit score drastically, to a point where she cannot even afford Wi-Fi. In her words, she said, I cannot even afford Wi-Fi. So that is why her data and airtime costs are that high. And then mom and two brothers, 4,500 rands. This is her mom and her two grown brothers. They reminded me of son 1 and son 2. You remember them, the grandfathers? Yeah. The two brothers reminded me of that gang. But okay, 4,500 rands is what we sent home. And then son, 3,000 rands. Okay, what is the son now? The son stays with her mom as well as the two brothers. So she sends money home for the mom and the two brothers, the 4,500 rands. And then she also sends 3,000 rands for the son. I said, okay, the son is 13 years old. It's not like it's a baby, when you have a baby living with someone, you have to send money for diapers and formula. A 13-year-old, what are we sending? She said, this is for his food and other things that he needs. What do you mean his food? What do you mean the 3,000 is for the son's food? We already send money for food. The 4,500 rands can feed the mom and son 1 and son 2. And also feed your son. So does your son eat anything different that he can't eat what they are eating? She said, well, I just never thought of it like that. For me, I just, assumed because, my son is there staying with them. I can't just, not send anything. But you're sending 4,500 rands. So now in total, you're sending home 7,500 rands just because your son stays there. That's a bit of a double counting there, if you ask me. The 4,500 rands should just be enough for the son and the two brothers as well as mom to buy groceries. And if maybe there's something else that they need to buy other than the 4,500 rands that we are giving them, the two brothers can make a plan. But sending money home where your son stays and then sending money for your son, he's not a baby. He does not need diapers. The 4,500 rands alone should be enough. And remember, the son is 13, and one of our sister's concerns is the son's education fund. He's going to university in 4 or 5 years, so we have nothing in savings. We have no education fund, but we are giving him 3,000 rands. Why are you giving a 13-year-old 3,000 rands? God knows what he's buying. I'm sure he's buying an iPhone. And no. In a few years, the son is going to come to you with a VETS acceptance letter. VETS is very expensive. And he's going to say, Mom, they need 20,000 for registration. And you're going to say, but I don't have money. And he's going to say, what did you do with all your money when you were working? And it would be a very valid question. What were you doing? What were you doing with the 3,000 that you're given to him? So no, the son allowance, all of it. We are going to take all of it. And maybe just to, be generous, we can send mom and the two brothers, we can send them 5,000 rands now. We can send home 5,000 rands. And if there's some way that we want to split the money and have the son maybe continue to be in control of his allowance, then we are going to give mom and two brothers 3,000 and we are going to send the son 2,000 in total. The overall amount that we're going to send home is just going to be 5,000 rands. That is going to save us 2,500 rands. We are now going to take that 2,500 rands saving and we are going to immediately open an education fund because this was the money that was going to the son anyway. So to continue feeling like, this is the money that, all goes to my son, or maybe if you start feeling bad about it, just remember, we are not completely taking this money from your son. We are just now putting it towards something much more important, much more urgent than whatever he was buying, the iPhones and, nice time with the 3,000 rands. So immediately we are going to take the 2,500 rands, open an education fund. If you take the 2,500 rands and you put it on an investment calculator and your investment period is 5 years, because that's give or take how much the son has left before he goes to university, you invest 2,500 rands. In 5 years, when your son goes to university, your investment could be worth over 190,000 rands. That is 190,000 rands that we will lose if we continue to give the son a 3,000 rands pocket money on top of sending 4,500 rands home. So this is really going to help your son get started in university. Currently, the son's father is taking care of school fees. They are not together. Their father and their mother are not together. Before you guys say, that's all he does. He just pays school fees. They are not together. So the father does take care of school fees, but our sister says the father does not have an education fund for their son, and he's not someone that would be able, to pay the university fees out of pocket. So that 190,000 rands would really go a long way in getting the son started. Remember, we are starting late. We just have 4-5 years. So because we are starting late, that is why we are only ending up with 190,000 rands, and it's a whole lot better than zero and getting in debt for those vets registration fees. So that's it there. We're going to take 2,500 rands back. And then she has DSTV for herself, 360 rands. DSTV for home, 480 rands. Send a lot of money home, and then we still pay for DSTV. And we are not rich, so this is a lot. The brothers should be paying for DSTV at least. But it's okay because, I think the fact that her son stays home makes things a bit tricky. So we're going to keep the DSTV there for home. Netflix for herself, 200 rands, and then ABSA, 700 rands. Remember the two other debts that she has, African Bank as well as her clothing account, she is not paying, and that is why her credit record is ruined. So she only pays ABSA. Lucky people, lucky for you, ABSA. Some people are not getting this money, hey. Life cover, 420 rands. Funeral cover, 555 rands. Going out, 1,000 rands. She says she barely goes out, so when she does go out, maybe she'll go out with her friends. But if it's date night or things like that, she'll go out with her man, her new man, not the baby's father. Her man usually takes care of dates, and guess what? Even on these dates, she still does not wear her poetry dresses. And then clothes, 5,000 rands. She is now paying cash for the clothes because she is unable now to get more clothing accounts, more debt because she stopped paying ABSA and her clothing accounts. So the addiction continues and she continues to buy dresses that she does not wear, and that separates her with about 5,000 rands every single month. Okay. So she's going to go to therapy, right, to figure that out, because we can say, oh, you're going to stop buying clothes. Even when we were speaking, she said, I'm done with buying clothes, but I don't trust her. I was looking at her, I was like, I don't know why I don't believe you. But she did come to me because she saw that she has a problem, and that is a very important step in recovery. But we are not just going to stop there. She's going to speak to a therapist so that we can find a way to sustain this sobriety, because we don't want it to just be once off and then before we know it, she relapses. Because, like I said, this shopping addiction is just as serious as any form of addiction. So for now, for the clothes, this 5,000 rands, if she can stop going to poetry, she only, does this when she's at poetry. She only buys poetry dresses. If she goes to Zara, she's going to look and say, oh, nice, buy, and not buy anything. But poetry, they have a little bit of something in there that she just cannot resist. Some of you might say it's witchcraft. I'm not saying it's not, but a therapist will be able to tell us. So the 5,000 rands for clothes, for now, we are going to take that. And for the first month, we are going to make minimum payments on ABSA as well as the clothing accounts. Both of those combined should not be more than 2,000 rands. So give or take 2,000 rands, we start making minimum payments on ABSA as well as the clothing accounts. And then we are left with 3,000 rands. We're going to take the 3,000 rands and also add the 1,000 rands saving from the groceries and take that for the first 2-3 months and build an emergency fund. Remember, we already have an education fund running. That 2,500 rands is already going towards our son's education fund. Now we make minimum payments at least on our other two debts, and we have about 4,000 rands that for the next 2 months, we are just going to work on getting a little bit of an emergency fund for her. So for 2-3 months, that's going to be roughly around 10,000 rands. 10,000, 12,000 rands. And when that is done, you know that for little emergencies, it's not enough, because for an emergency fund, you want to have at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses. But getting that little bit of a starter emergency fund is important so that now you can be geared up, you can be in a position to tackle the debt, knowing that you have a buffer in the background. So after 3 months of building a starter emergency fund, we are going to take the whole 4,000 rands and we are going to pay off our debts using the debt snowball method. That means we are going to list our debt from smallest to biggest and start paying off the smallest debt. The smallest debt we have is ABSA. So on top of the minimum payment that we are making to ABSA, we are now going to make an extra payment of 4,000 rands, and that exercise should settle the ABSA debt in about 3 months. And then we move on to the African Bank personal loan. That should take us 3-4 months as well to settle. And then we settle the clothing accounts. The clothing accounts are going to take us around 5-6 months to settle. And then in exactly a year, our sister will be debt free with a little bit of an emergency fund. Then now, when we are debt free, we can even go back to the Wi-Fi people and, renegotiate, see if we cannot get a contract. And that Wi-Fi contract will be her credit record. When you make payments on your Wi-Fi contracts, that contributes positively to your credit score. So that can just be the thing that she has to make sure that she maintains a healthy credit record. But these poetry things would have gone. And remember, she's going to open that online store, but we don't know how long it's going to take to make the sales. So I don't want to rely too much on the poetry dresses money coming through. when that money comes through, it will just find us already having a plan, and it can really help speed up this process. It can move it from, a year to a month to a week or 6 months. But whenever it happens, it's going to find us with a plan. And now we know that if we get any extra money, either from work, bonuses, overtime, from the poetry online store that we are going to create, we know that, okay, now we are working on paying off ABSA. Then just put that there, and then we settle it quicker than expected. But either way, whether the dresses sell or not, in a year she will be debt free. Now when she's debt free, she's going to go back to her emergency fund. Remember, her emergency fund was not really sorted. It was just a little bit enough to get her started. Then now we work on building our emergency fund, making sure that our emergency fund is at least 3 to 6 months of our expenses. Once that is done, we start investing, get a TFSA, max it out, and then now start thinking of other things that you enjoy, not poetry. Don't go to poetry. I think she needs to call the poetry store and ask them to ban her. I don't know how that would work, but at this point, it's our best bet with the help of the counselor on the side. Another thing she could do is, because some of these dresses she bought like 2 years ago and she has not seen or worn them ever since, what she could do while she's in recovery, she's in therapy, what she could do is just line them up, take a shopping bag and go shop in your closet, shop the dresses that you have, and get that excitement that you got 2 years ago and say, "Ooh, you're a beautiful dress, you're coming home with me." Pretend shop in your closet, because if we are being honest, that's what you've been doing. You've been going to poetry and pretend shopping. The only difference is then you were using real money, real accounts, so now you're going to pretend shop and it's going to cost you nothing. If you're also someone that suffers from a shopping addiction or any form of addiction, please get help, especially when it gets to a point where it's destroying your finances, it's destroying your future, it's affecting your loved ones. Please speak up, get professional help, and build wealth. I will see you guys in the next video. Until then, I hope you have a rich day.